Hello and
Oh
welcome
no,
to the Trekle Trunk, where tonight it is the
indeed,
Day of Blood. At least we'll be discussing the Day of Blood.
indeed,
KLS is walking and his followers are walking the red path. I am walking the blue path. Let's get
indeed,
into it.
indeed.
We are
Today
your hosts.
is a good day to die, which we'll say not for the first or the last time, but many
As we'll
times
hear
today.
later in this, maybe should be
Indeed.
qualified better. Like, today is a good day to die for you and not me. So, you find these things. We're your hosts, Davin and
Indeed.
Dave, playing some
Yeah,
Tailors,
yeah,
Locutors of Trek, all those
indeed,
things. Comic readers, because here we are talking about comics. So let's
indeed.
get right into it, shall we?
Hat
If you
aficionados.
followed us in our previous Trekle Trunks recently, we've counted down to the Day of Blood over, I believe,
We
three
have been.
episodes. And this is it.
Although,
We're
as you know,
finally
my
here.
mastery of lists, I've left the counting to him.
I do the counting. He even pointed in. Of course, I just did as well.
You're over there. I'll point it.
So
Is this way where you are on my
that's
screen?
better.
I'm.
Exactly. That's how
Who's
we do
on first? Okay, here we
it.
go.
Neither of us. Um,
So now we're
here we
picking
are.
up.
Day of Blood, number
Yeah,
one. It's just called Star Trek Day of Blood. 105, written by Christopher Cantwell, Colin Kelly, and Jackson Lansing, all working together on this issue. Art by Ramon Rosanas,
indeed.
color by Lee Loffridge. So it's here we are. It's the Theseus facing off against these three Bloodwings, these red
And
bird
a
of prey.
massive orbital station.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love getting to see a Klingon orbital platform. Eh?
It's
We don't really
interesting,
see
right?
one. Yeah,
Like it's less vulnerable than a Starfleet one. Clearly, it's just this kind of like solid mass.
yeah. But it's also it
Yeah,
has. If you look at our station, of course, Deep Space Locutor there behind us, it's obviously on the MPOC model, or the NOR model of station, I guess, really. Although I think maybe MPOC was the first one. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, dear viewer. But yeah, right, like that's got a lot of empty space, but that Klingon one's just all space filled and armor. It looks like lovely piece of kit.
we got Cisco and his crew looking around. We get Scotty there. They beam down to the planet on the outskirts of the first city on Konos,
Hmm.
and there is where they meet the crew of the Defiant. So everybody's back together again. You
Yeah,
know,
I love this.
very
I love
fun.
it that it's sitting in an old ship graveyard of Burrell class
Yeah, right?
ships there.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
man.
interesting. Um, and first thing Cisco says to Worf, you're out of uniform. And Worf's just like, we're both renegades today, Benjamin. I'm just honest about it. So that's a good one. Nice
Slightly
page here
testy
of breakdown of
hello.
both crews. Very cool.
Oh yeah.
And because Worf had sent out a distress call wanting help from Benjamin, so off they
As you'll
came.
remember, yeah, we
Everyone,
closed off the last issue with it arriving, I think, to Ben Cisco at DS9, wasn't it? He'd returned to DS9 for a little bit.
yeah.
Then they headed off. Well, Theseus headed off here.
Cisco calls to find his ship, and Worf's just like, it is not ship. It's pretty funny.
You stole it.
So then, like, we have the different people pair off for a conversation. We have Spock and Talir, the two Vulcans, having a conversation. Um, we've got Balana and Tom, of course, and they're both just like, "Who's watching our kid?"
Yeah.
Because they're both off doing like renegade bullshit when they left Morale with Harry.
Yeah, which is an
Yeah,
interesting choice.
yeah,
Because it sounds like,
yeah.
from the sound of it, uh, Harry and Tom don't seem like they've kept up as much lately.
Did you get that impression? Didn't get that impression.
I felt, or I don't know. It seemed like he,
It's interesting.
yeah, there seemed to be some
It,
hesitation about why she'd leave him with Harry. I didn't know about that, but maybe we'll get to pick up on that in another issue.
Okay.
That'd be
And then
great.
the two outsiders, the Orion and the, well, not really an outsider, the Andorian. Two.
Lieutenant Asato.
Yes, right. The Shinsato. And then we have this great conversation between Shaxs and Ro, which is pretty great. The
Oh
two
my
Bajorans.
goodness.
And he's just like, Laren. She's like, Shaxs. He's just like, still a Maquis traitor. She's like, once Maquis, always Maquis, but traitor, vote's still out. She's like, I'd ask if you're still an ass, but we both know the answer to that riddle. Anyway. I've never stopped wearing the uniform or keeping faith with the prophet. She's like, well, bless your pa. And then, of
They
course,
really
Data and
do
Lore meet
capture
up.
Ro's way of speaking very well.
They do. They really do. And yeah, Data
But
and
I
Lore
think my
meet up.
favorite of
Or Data didn't
these
even know Lore
interactions
was
has to
running
be
around
Data
again.
and Lore.
Yeah. Well, Data didn't even know Lore was up and running again. But here we go. He's like, brother, I don't deserve a hello. But it's funny. Data's doesn't mince many words with Lore in this story. That's for
No,
sure.
not at all. He's
And we got Sayla just sitting there being a jerk. So that's the crew. They're all like bickering and stuff, and Beverly's just like, "Shut up, everybody! Like, let's just get on with it." So
yep.
then Worf and Cisco have a good moment where he's just like, I had to be a traitor because Alexander's my son, and Cisco understands that sort of sentiment, so he's just like, yeah, so he is. They have their nice little
Well, it's
moment.
interesting that he says that now, right? Uh there's a lot. I mean, there's a whole weird space creature in the difference here, where he had to make that call again for himself, you know, uh, which I think they do harken back to in the issue.
Yeah, they do. There's the
Yeah.
image there.
Mm-hmm.
So yep.
So
The
yeah, so they're all kind of setting out on foot at this point
Yeah, they're all
in
setting out
various
across the desert
directions.
because he says it's the only way they won't be spotted.
Yeah,
We kind of
yeah,
just have to walk up, as Kalis did. He says Kalis the first, of
the
course,
real Kalets. Yeah,
the real Kalis, the one he does like,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
the one who hasn't gone mad in like an inferiority complex because he's not the real Kalis, which is definitely the root of all of this. But they get into the root of this here at the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are at the Imperial Spire, miles outside the first city, and Kalis is sitting there on his nice throne. Got to have a throne. And he's doing his big speech about how he's, taking back uh, the galaxy, basically, and how if you don't follow the red path, and if you do follow the red path, kill the people who don't follow the red path. He's setting like complete anarchy off on
Well,
Konos.
and you're
They're
right.
just
Like this isn't just like
murdering each
make
other
Konos great again. This is
with blood.
something even more um both anachronistic but also unhinged than that, right? Because
Yeah,
he's I mean, there is a kind of grandiosity to it though, right? Because the vision is to extend this red path everywhere, but it's um just an absolutely murderous uh sort of ideology.
it really is. I mean, like you see it, fire and everything erupts. But it's funny. It's just like he's like, rise up," and it just goes back to the bridge of the Theseus, and it's Sato. She's just like, maybe they won't rise up.
Oh yeah, and
Steelers
there's
is
some
like, don't be
heartbreaking
foolish.
scenes of like various parts of Klingon life just completely falling apart through this
Oh
issue.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's Konos is on fire, man,
Oh
and
man, there's like
drowning in
military
blood at
units
the
going to
same time.
pieces with each other. There's
Oh yeah, like
families.
there's the
There's
firefight,
everything.
like just like crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
Might be Shax's best day, but it's not Konos's best day. But
No,
we'll be back to
no.
Shax.
Jax's best day means a catastrophe for so many other people.
For pretty much anybody else. Um,
Oh man, you may guess which issue we're looking forward to.
oh well, yes, we'll be talking about the 5 issues of Day of Blood, but also Shax's best day, which kind of slots right in here. I think after issue 3.
Oh, it's three.
But
Okay.
then we finally get to Martok, which is what I've been wondering about during the whole countdown. I'm like, if Kalis is doing all this mad shit on
Mm-hmm.
Konos, how is Martok just sitting by? and he's just been sort of trying to keep doing his job, I guess. He's just like he's just laughing at Kaelus's speech. And he's just like, well, it seems we'll just have to track him down and arrest him and execute him in the town square tomorrow. I'd like to swing the batleth myself. Then he's like, I sense dissent. And like, I thought it was just a couple of them, but looking at it now, all of his councilmen are following the red path. They all stand up.
Oh yeah, like they're all
And they say,
they're
rise
all
and face the red path, Murtaugh. I love his response though. He's like, I do not rise for the disciples of a dish-grown maggot delusions of grandeur. He's like, for too long this council has allowed. Oh wait, that's a different one. Oh, he's like, this is it. He says like, your insurrection gives me a gift. I now no longer have to listen to this council's endless blathering. I can finally just kill you where you stand. Murtaugh's gonna take down the whole.
You think
council
you're dismaying Martok with this call?
Is that a Macleth or a Dictog? That's a Dictog.
I think he's
gonna take them all down with his Ducktog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty great. Oh, and this is interesting too, because it's accessing Klingon subspace channels and an incomplete list of settlements currently reporting unrest. So we get this cool list of all these different Klingon settlement names.
Oh, cool.
Types of unrest reported to be occurring in these regions: homicide, rioting, illegal congregation, destruction of public and private property, revolutionary activity unspecified. Death of high-ranking government officials. In Klingon law, that's called Sun Chi.
May not exactly be illegal, but yeah. I mean, they do have a right. They do have a
secondary government officials. So you can just kill the high-ranking government officials, but the secondary government officials get to fight for their life. Klingons are great, aren't they? Well, and listen, and excessive noise is the last complaint.
Excessive noise. Just see one Klingon running through there with an air horn. Woot, 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 woot. Day of blood.
The worst day ever.
Woot, woot.
Day of blood.
Oh, man.
So then Spock, basically, the Theseus is about to get blown up. So Spock wants to go over and be with his old pal Scotty and help him survive. Spock beams over to the Theseus. Because, now they're back in the Defiant. Well, some of them. The ladies, Sayla and Crusher, and what's her name? We don't get her name because she won't tell us her name. The Orion.
X, we've been calling her so far. The Orion.
Oh, is that what she said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tom and B'Elanna are an engineer and having a chat. But Captain Sisko, we must get to my offices at the embassy, says, because he does have a subordinate at the embassy that he trusts. They think they can get information from. Oh, this is the great Data and Lore moment here too, where Lore he won't leave Data alone. He just keeps looking for his approval so openly, and I'm sure disingenuously, of course. But like,
he's definitely trying to irritate Data.
Brother, tell me you're pleased. He's like, the computational amount is infinitesimal, but yes, I am. And by intriguing contrast, I'm also fairly enraged. That's a great. This is the good stuff. So they're all ready to go on their strike mission because they have to get to the scientist Korath, is who they're this strike team of Ro, Sato, Talir, and Shaxs are going to do there. Going to find Korath, the Klingon scientist who created this weapon. And Shaxs just they're all getting their phasers ready. Shaxs just breaks this pipe off the ship. They're like, "What are you doing?" He's just like, "All I ever needed was a strong pipe."
That pipe is going to figure heavily.
But then he just jumps out there and starts going to town on Klingons with that pipe. So I guess he was right.
Just beating Klingons with tritanium. I mean, what's harder than a Klingon skull? Tritanium.
Rose had apparently.
Oh, look at that Rose cranium. That's true.
she's got a hard. Maybe that's in like her headband. Like,
Well, it makes you wonder, yeah, what
uh,
she keeps under that headband, eh?
yeah. And he's like, and she's like, he's like, that's pretty. He's never seen Shaxs like I never seen someone best to Klingon with a headbutt before. She's like, and I didn't even need a strong pipe. But so then Cisco and Worf find Maral. They're not Maral. Danok, her name is his subordinate at the embassy. She's been injured and dies in his arms. Uh, so that didn't work out so well.
But I think not before telling them that Kalis is holed up in the spire.
Yeah, he's in his spire, guarded by his bird of prey, and he fears attack from the sky, so he's ignoring the ground. She tells
Mm-hmm.
So that's yeah. So they're just gonna walk it in. Well, no, he takes a dune buggy. They got a dune buggy now.
Nice.
And yeah, that's the oh, the dune buggy blows up. That's right.
Oh yeah, they get into it with
Yeah,
some defense
yeah,
forces on the ground, or Red Path people on
yeah.
the
But
ground.
they survived it. But, yeah, so that's issue one,
Yep.
and then we move on to Defiant #6 by Christopher Cantwell, with art by Angel Unzueta, colors by Marissa Louise.
Gorgeous cover. I
Oh
love the
yeah,
setup. I love the composition of this cover. Like the curve of the batleth and the straight line of the phaser. Oh man, the whole thing is just uh yeah, it's really lovely.
should say who did this cover. It says it. It doesn't say who does the cover. I
No.
have to look that up maybe. But here we are. We're at the spire. It's quite the spire. Not phallic at all. Um,
No. Well, I mean, Klingons do have a lot of bones, so
they do. Organs too.
it's true. Redundancies. So anyway, they're making their way through these sort of canyony things, as I
Oh,
recall.
Stonefoot. He's just like, and they're talking about that time where he carried Dax out of the jungle and went against his orders to save her. And he's just
Mhm.
like, Cisco, you told me I'd never be captain because of that. Yet here I am captaining the Defiant. He's just like, dude, you stole the Defiant. He's like, you mean the ship you stole? I don't think that just proves my point. But anyway. So it's nice though
Yeah.
having them talk. They're talking it out. They're trying to work through their issues. They want to be buddies again. They're both like,
It's
"You're angry with me." Yep. They're just like, "You're look pissed at me." He's like, "Yep." They're just like pissed off at each other. But look, then they make it to the three-turn bridge.
Oh man.
Yeah, the three-turn bridge from the classic Klingon story we have also covered
Indeed,
on the
that one
Trekle Trunk.
shot, which was great.
Yeah, go back and check with that one shot.
Which was a wonderful portrait of an actual Kalis.
Sporf does say something to him. He's talking, but he's kind of mocking Benjamin's bigger picture approach she takes to everything. And he's just like, there could become a time in the next few hours when I must choose between all of existence and your life. You do not have to worry because I will not save you. That's what Worf says to Cisco. So then Spock
Ah,
appears.
Caddy
He's
Warp
happy
is
to
my
see.
favorite Warp.
It's true. Mine too. Card season
So
3.
yeah.
Too. Um.
And back at the
Yeah. So it's just
Theseus, it's a
yeah.
discussion about who's going to actually do what, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Spock's just like, didn't you build this ship pretty much entirely, the Theseus? And she's like, this guy's like, yeah. He's like, then it must have a few tricks up its sleeve. He's like, that it does. Yeah. He's just like, Dashini, let's see how these targeting sensors of these scabby Romulan chuck birds like an eye full of plasma exhaust. So then they like vent the exhaust. He's like, they can't fight what they can't see. Spock's like, nope, but they can throw wild punches blind.
Yep.
And then, more Konos on fire, people dying. it's quite the day.
Well, now I think now at this point we're rejoining X and Crusher and Shaxs and Row, right?
No,
Or who are we with here?
no. Here we are with Sayla, Beverly, and X.
Oh, that's right. That's it.
I think Shaxs has separated himself from the group on his murder spree.
Oh yeah,
No,
Shaxs
Shaxs
got
is off with
separated
no, because
early
Shaxs
on.
is with Roe. Shaxs is with Roe and Talir and Sato. That's a different
That's
fight.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Or is they trying to get to the I might have messed that up. It might be this group that's trying to get to Korath. One of them's trying to get to
I
Korath.
think it's Data and Lore going to Korath.
Oh,
There's somebody else trying to.
Cisco and Worf are going to the Spire. Oh, they're going into the High Council chambers. They're going after Martok. This group.
Oh,
They're
that's
going to the
right.
Underground.
Yeah, Crusher's team is after Martok.
Yeah. All right, we've cleared that up. And
That's
they
right.
find him. And he's just as he's slaying his last councilman. Good job, buddy.
Having a really good meeting.
Delusions of grandeur are good for nothing if not a high body count, is what X says. Wait, is that him? And he's just like killed all 11 council members. I've been traitorous kept dead, he says. He passes out because he's basically too.
He's taken a number of wounds himself at this rate.
I'm gonna do an emergency transfusion, Beverly says, and she's just like, "From whom? Everybody's dead." X says. She's just like, "Grab a mop and bucket if you have to. Find a decent looking one and drag it over here." She says to it.
Yeah,
All
doesn't
just
she say
funny.
we'll do chest compressions to make the pressure or something?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah,
we
she's
have
getting
to.
pretty old school with this.
She
But it
is
does seem the
all
kind of
the
medicine that even a Klingon might appreciate being done
time.
to them.
Yeah, that's what she says. We'll do manual chest compressions to pump an influx of blood into Martok's system. Sure.
Oh man.
And then we have that interest. It's a good image there where it's just kind of down the middle. It's Data
Oh
and
yeah.
Lore running together there. It's kind of nice. But Data saying how he appreciates Lore's resiliency because it suggests that he himself has that capability within him, and so that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting. And then so they're ducking some lasers and stuff. It'd be hard for
Well, it's interesting because yeah, I mean their conversation, even Data is attempting at moments to say, yeah, I do see some good things in you, but don't for a second think that I'm ever gonna fall for your stuff again.
no,
And
he
like
keeps
that's the
telling
point
him
Data
after
just
this
keeps
mission he's
making.
gonna shut him down. He's just
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna shut you down when this is all over. He's like, oh brother. He's like, okay, but like Lore, I'm shutting you down when
like I'm
this is all
sending you
done.
to the
Like,
Daystrom
yeah,
Institute for
yeah, yeah, for
research after
study
this.
again.
Yeah.
He's not mincing any words with Lore, which is probably not the best way to handle Lore, quite frankly. You're better off lying to Lore, I think.
Well, and that's the trick, right? Because Lore's either looking for a reason to betray you or looking for the moment you're going to
get rid of him.
betray him, right? Yeah.
So they've made it to Korath's lab. They're just got to get through a few defense droids or defensive systems. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they're interesting. He's like they don't think Korath is a follower of the Red Path because he's a scientist. So they
Mm-hmm.
assume he's an opportunist as opposed to a true believer.
Yeah, which I
He's
find
like they're like a
interesting.
brilliant man of science like that isn't just going to accept a lab grown clone as his messiah, which is a good point. You know, he's aware of the science behind it all. It's not a
Well, and
mirror.
I think, yeah,
You
he
know,
may have a very different sense of what that selfhood of Korath's might mean, right? Than others might. And it's clear that, I mean, if they're going after him at his lab, he's not, in the spire with Korath, so there's at least some daylight between them, right?
So they just trying to sneak in, and we're just like, nah, let's just like kick all their asses. So they just break everything.
Let's do awesome android kicks.
Exactly, and some android kicks, and then we're back with the other strike team. Talir and Sato and Shaxs and Rowe,
Yeah.
and they're trying to make it up this to this communications tower or something. Like they're up on this tower. But they make it, toss a couple Klingons off of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they jump in. And what are they doing after this box? We both seem to have forgotten what they're doing in this box. But anyway, they're climbing up in this box.
Yep.
Kids, welcome to Starfleet, kids, Rose says. They put you in a uniform, and then at some point you end up in a dark box with your nose busted and no way out. Oh, bro. But Sato never takes shit from nobody. She's just like, I didn't realize it was Starfleet that forced you to join the Maquis and then go to jail for it. She's like, I read your file. She's like, it was a lot to impress, except for the end, of course.
Yeah. Sato's
That's
great
pretty
in
funny.
this
She's
particular
great.
spot they get stuck in. I really
The
like her
character
in
I'd
here.
like to see show up on a show or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's got
So
a
then
lot
they're
of
on the Defiant.
spine.
Alana, Tom on the Defiance on the ground
Oh yeah, they're trying to
on
make stuff work
fire.
here.
Yeah, they're trying to make, but the deflector dish does not want to cooperate. They're like, that's a big problem. We can't go up there without the deflector dish. She's just like, yeah, but first I just got to get us up there. We'll get up there, then we'll worry about the deflector. Tom's just like, okay, it's not the most comfortable way for me to do things because I'm a pilot. I like the ship to work before I take off.
Right? I
Like,
don't want like a
whatever.
particle of dust to drive a hole through this thing. Yeah.
So then it cuts
Speaking of
to
which, there is,
Korath.
as let us remind you, there is a theory about deflector dishes already in existence. The Browning White, uh, Alcubierre style warp drive already uses an idea called conditioned photons that would essentially do what these shields are supposed to do, but uh, perhaps even better by some people's way of looking at it. Anyway, moving on.
For a discussion some other time, I think.
Indeed.
Then it cuts to Korath and Kayla's talking. Kayla over comms. And
Mm-hmm,
then Lore
mm-hmm.
sneaks up on Korath. And Korath grabs him, thinks he has him. And Data just has a phaser to Korath. Just like, what are you going to do? Soong's androids, remarkable, he says. Data's like, thank you. And then he shoots him in the face.
Thank you, shoots him in the face.
And then Laura's like, that was stunning. Am I right? Data's like, a decent attempt at humor.
Can you
And he's
imagine
like,
how
Data, how
jealous
do I
Data
say I'm.
actually is at that moment? Like Data's been trying to tell an actual joke for years at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, Laura's actually kind of funny. He can do jokes. Um,
He's charming. That's the trouble, right?
but this is the last little scene of this issue, and this is where he's like, Data, how do I say I'm sorry? He's just like, who? For what? Attempting to kill me, attempting to kill my friends. Um, he's like, I'm not certain how effective the words are. He's like, I want you to know, Lord, that I've always appreciated you. I hope you know that. And he's like, but it is precisely for that reason that following the completion of this mission, I will ensure that you are deactivated and disassembled once more. Hope you know that as well. And Dolores just like, what? Data is all business. It's usually, all business on this one.
Yeah.
So now we have another great painted cover.
Oh, look at
Defiant and
that.
Prometheus and like good stuff there. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So jumping into issue
A lot of
3,
counter motion there.
Donos
Right.
on fire. Beautiful.
Oh,
I mean,
beautiful diorama style opening too, right?
yeah, yeah. And this is back to Star Trek number 11 by
Yeah.
Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, and art by Angel Unzueta. If I'm saying that right, I hope I am. Unzueta.
Indeed.
So back to the Defiant, just lying on the ground. Fires are out though. The
Mm-hmm.
fire
Looking a little
suppression
better.
system must be working. Yeah. They're still talking about like Tom's is like, but I don't want to go into space without deflectors. Like, I really don't. It's like, just trust me. Like, yeah.
Oh,
And then and then we're back to this crew in that friggin' box that they're in. What are they doing in
indeed.
this thing?
The three of them are sort of
Uh,
arguing at this point, as I recall.
They're looking for something, but I can't figure it out. Anyway, we'll get to it. Hopefully, it's not important. But then we go
That plot
back
seemed to me
to
more about character development and
yeah,
about
me
like
too.
sort of letting those characters speak about their ideals or
Yeah.
who they kind of are.
So definitely is developing relationship between Ro and Sato. Like they challenge each other, but they also seem to have a grudging respect for each other,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Well,
interesting.
Sato really is very good at making the case for like what the Starfleet way is, as opposed to Ro's really cynical take on
Very
Starfleet
cynical.
being either like super bureaucratic or too goody goody, for its own good.
And she's talking about the Kobayashi Maru too, bro. She's calling it. She's like Klingons don't have their students running around in circles trying to get gold stars on a death simulator.
Mm-hmm.
And Sato's just like, oh my god, enough! Like with your cynical bullshit. She's like, it's not a death simulator, you cynical washout. She calls Ro.
Yes.
Cool ensign, man. I love an ensign's got spunk. Um,
Yeah,
she's like, it's a lesson in reality, reminder that when it's all going bad, nothing, absolutely nothing can be done to change it. The test isn't if you're willing to die. The test is when you're looking at annihilation in the eye, do you blink? That's what Sato says to her.
right.
Rose is like, okay then.
Yeah.
Like,
Who can you live with being in the clutch, right?
exactly,
That's
man.
what they want from
That's
Starfleet.
Starfleet. That's freaking Starfleet. But
Yeah,
just dead Klingons everywhere. I guess they found a good one for the bucket.
man. Or they found enough bits of enough good ones, at any
Yeah,
rate.
it's true. They seem to have dragged like 4 or 5 of them over. So maybe that is what they're
I
doing.
suppose now, who knows how many of them Martok conveniently piled up nearby for them either. It looks like it
Like,
was a bit
no,
of a
it's really
running fight, though. Because that council chamber is long, as I recall from
very big
TNG
open
episodes.
space with like this big kind of toilet looking thing. Man. I don't know, is that a toilet?
Oh,
No, it's
goodness
not a
me.
toilet. But then
It's a
we have this
Klingon
great scene
bidet.
where Beverly and Sayla get into it. And Sayla's like he's Beverly gets sick of her. She's just like, I try to see Tasha in there, but like you just suck. And like I don't see it. She's just like, oh no, I'm so glad. I'm so hurt that you don't compare me to my mother, the person who she says fell on her back to save her own. And then that's when
Mm-hmm.
then friggin' Beverly just hauls out and slaps the shit out of her for a second. And she says what she says, she loved you and died trying to save you, not some heartless Romulan commander, her little girl. So she's like, so shut up. Anyway, so that was
Yeah,
that was
man.
a
And I mean,
pretty crazy scene.
if you
And
think about this,
that's
this is
what
what? This is
yeah,
3 years after the end of DS9, right?
yeah.
So 2379. Tasha Yar only died, or 2378, I suppose. Tasha Yar would only have died uh, 15 years before, 10, 12 years before. Like
Yeah.
that's not a
And then
long time for Crusher for that loss, as opposed to Selah.
yeah, true. Versailles been like 30 years.
Yeah, easily.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So and that's when like, Beverly's also saying she's just like, you don't even understand how awesome your mother was. Like she's the kind of person that could move like the woman who could move mountains. She was an avalanche of force. And there's just one Klingon, or no, it's Martok. She just drives a thumb into his wound to get like
Oh
the
yeah, to get the
communication
codes out of
override
them.
codes. Yeah, he's like, she's like, tell us the codes or Kalis wins. So he whispers them in her ear. Um, and then she stands up and she's just like, I'm going to move mountains. Maybe a little inspired by Beverly's speech, and
Oh
she just
yeah.
runs across like half the city, like going through Klingons, avoiding Klingons.
Kicks butt and
Yeah, she does,
avoids
man.
damage the whole
Pretty
time.
fierce. Then she jumps in there, just like superhero pose, superhero landing.
Oh, what a poser! Oh man, you're always landing in that pose.
Such a poser.
Greatest
Yeah.
character in the MCU. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I love Yelena. She was great in the Hawkeye series as well.
Oh man, so good.
I'm making delicious macaroni. So yeah, so because she wanted to get to the Defiant, or not to the Defiant, to that tube that other strike team is in.
Yeah.
Oh, because that's where they're going to send out the communications from that tower. Now that they have the communication codes. They send just back to Laura Data. She's like, deactivate me. Way to bring down the room, brother. Like, well, and he's just like, dude,
Not concerned about that.
Laura, you're consistent, man. He's like, you're just consistently you. And like, I
It's like,
expect
what can
nothing
I say?
less.
Like, I know you're gonna do it eventually.
And that's when he tells Data to turn on his emotion chip. He's like, then tell me again how you want me to die. He's just like, Lore, I do not want you to die. In fact, that is why I haven't turned on my emotion chip. Because if I did, I'm pretty sure I might kill you myself.
Yeah.
He is not happy to see Lore. Like he is just it made him super serious all of a sudden and like, you know,
I mean, it's
pretty
interesting,
cold.
right? Because like every time he's ever gone anywhere close to lore,
Yeah.
everything has gone just to a steaming pile of mess in his life, you know. And the last time he saw lore, which I suppose would have been with Hugh, or no, not with Hugh, but with the other Borg that Hugh was with. Uh, I mean, that was just horrific, right? He nearly kills Geordi. He does all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah.
He doesn't take lightly trying to kill Geordi. Um,
No.
so then immediate betrayal from Lore. He beams out, leaves Data to fight all these Red Path guys.
Yeah.
Lore gonna lure. Nice shot here
Clearly,
from
he
her.
had it set
Lore
up
condition
already.
red. Yep. Yep. It's like, yep. What's he say? Site to site transport. Load classified coordinates. Scramble signal trace.
Yeah.
Oh, Defiant override warp theta 7. So he has the Defiant do it. He set a secret
Yeah.
command into the Defiant. Yeah. So
Well,
get
during
us
that
to the
brief
end of
period, he
this
was in the
one.
captain's chair, I suspect.
Yeah. We're back to the Theseus. It's one more shot and it's gonna blow.
Mm-hmm. They are throwing wild punches in the dark.
And that's what Spook says. Well, logic just dictates we need one thing here, and that's we need the Defiant. He's like, we are screwed. We actually need the Defiant to come save us now. And speaking of which, off they go. They're getting her out off the
There we
ground
go.
anyway. So don't have a
But
deflector
what
ditch, but
is
we'll
happening
worry
there?
about that. But then all of a sudden, Shaxs to bridge, deflector's running good as new, courtesy of a Klingon part I just hardwired in. Now get us into orbit. We've got a galaxy to save. And then, like, if you want to see how he got that, tune into Shaxs' best day ever, which we'll be talking about here next. And we can't wait. We couldn't even stop ourselves from talking about it earlier. So,
Oh
and then
man.
she's just like, he's like, all right, beam Shaxs back in. He's on the outside of the ship. He's just like, no, give me a minute. It's something I've always wanted to do. So then he's just like, he's just riding the Defiance
This is
into
the
orbit
best day of my
without.
life.
Well, he kicks a cyborg off the hull.
Oh man.
Oh god, this is the
Shax
best.
is the
Shax's
greatest.
best day. He is the greatest.
Indeed.
And then, yeah, so they arrive to the spire, and Kalis is there, and he just shoots Alexander up with some more red path juice, the Ketracel red. And Cisco and Worf versus Kalis and Alexander is where we leave that. But before we pick up with that, we have to talk about Shaxs' best day.
Oh my god. Everything from the banner on the cover of this thing, like forward, is my favorite
It's
issue of
Captain
this whole
Picard Day.
series. Oh man.
I think it even has him riding the Defiant there. See the little Shaxs? So this is by none other than Ryan North, of course, the writer of all these Lower Decks comics we've been enjoying so much, and writer of
Indeed.
Squirrel Girl, and just a damn fine writer. So it's funny seeing that strike team we just saw in the other art style, all in Lower Decks form there. It's all of a sudden it's very cool, but it is seamless. Um, so
Yeah, it's there's something lovely about seeing this story from Shaxs' point of view in the Lower Deck style. But you're right, like the sense of character is absolutely seamless. There's a slight more silliness in this one, but not even that much,
he's got like purple Klingon blood dripping off his pipe, and he's like, "Ha ha ha! This is what happens to fascists." So his whole thing is these Klingon Red Path guys are just Cardassian fascists to him, so he hates them.
Yep.
He's just enjoying the shit out of killing.
He's just like, I know, I've got your number from Go, fascist. Oh,
we're
man.
not fascists. We're true believers of Kalis the Unforgettable. He's like, sorry, who's Kalis? They're like, the Unforgettable. He's just like, I don't think I've ever heard of him. Wait, was he that guy who surrendered like all the time? Kalis, the guy who was just the worst warrior, right? He just rubbing it into their face.
Oh, he's just so gleefully. Oh man, homicidal with
They
these
always have
Klingons.
the classic Ryan North text at the bottom of the page, which is always hilarious. And this one is just like, turns out the worst, most offensive thing you can say to a Klingon is Kalis is barely memorable. But unfortunately, all researchers we've sent to study this matter have not survived long enough to report their findings back. So it does remain an open question.
This is the challenge with Klingon sociological studies, yes. Yeah, yeah.
You're wrong about us, him and us. We're not fascists. He's just like, right. You just truly believe a characteristics or a charismatic strong man when he says your side should have absolute power over your people, and now you're using force to give him or to give it to him in a coup. It's like, remind you, where have I heard that before? He's like, from fascists. Then he punches him in the face. He throws his pipe up in the air so they'll look at the pipe, and then he just punches them. Like, that's another thing he does with the pipe.
He has
So
studied some clear kung fu.
He's like, does anyone else want to debate political philosophy? And then he sees the Defiant. But like they've got ropes on it and stuff. Like all the Red Path guys are trying to get into the Defiant.
Oh yeah.
He starts clearing the path though. He starts clearing them off the old Defiant. But he realizes like there's obviously no members of the crew or none of the ship systems trying to counteract these Klingons. So he's just like, that ain't good. This is pretty funny. Did you know any famous dramatic monologue of stage or screen can be prefaced with personal log supplemental? It's like it's a dramaturgical life hack they don't want you to know about.
See, now that's something we just quickly try. Just a minute here.
Yeah.
Personal log supplemental. This is the winter of our discontent. See, it works.
Yeah, it does work. Yeah, I like it.
Personal log supplemental. I have very special skills. Or no, I forget the line. Certain set of skills.
He's like, the shit must be really busted, including the sensors that sense when any sensors have been desensified. Those ones definitely aren't working. So he's just like, we got to get. Then he realizes that the deflector dish isn't working. So he's just like, well, I'll just go steal a Klingon deflector dish. He sees a bird of prey over there. He's like, there's a
so off he goes.
Dish. Yeah, sure does. Today is a good day to die, one of them says. He's just like, heard it before, champ. He's just like belittling them all and not taking any of them seriously. But then that guy with his batlet cuts his pipe in half. Look at his face. He's like, what? You can cut a pipe in half?
Pipes.
He's like, Klingons still attack. Shaxs' personal log supplemental. Pipes have downsides somehow? Okay, gotta go. The Klingon's still attacking me, and I only have half a pipe now. So he just so he just stabs him in the eye with it. That works too. It's pretty brutal because then he grabs the batleth and just starts decapitating Klingons all over the place.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. He kind of goes. It's one of the other odd things about switching to this art style. Star Trek is at its most viciously violent in Lower Decks.
yeah,
Right? The first episode opens with
softens it a bit.
Cutting into Boimler's leg
Oh yeah.
with a batleth, I think.
It was a batleth. And then he's just like, yeah, come on, Klingons, I'm right here, and I know you know what kind of day it is. And then we get one of these first, a few weeks later, Shaxs is, oh no, we skipped a few of those, but he keeps like, they keep telling the story at the bottom of how Shaxs is trying to sleep 3 weeks later, but keeps waking up about all the cool, badass lines he could have said while he was killing these
Right.
Klingons.
Knees to
This one he
meet
should have
you.
said, "Knees to meet you," because he knees one of the, or he cuts the guy's knees off. Um, Cuts him off at the knees. Yikes!
Indeed.
This Klingon woman shows up and she's just like, "It is not honorable to fight with a stolen weapon, Bajoran. Lucky for me, I own this disruptor fair and square." So, so Shax just snatches another battle from another Klingon and just like throws it at her disruptor beam to block that. Then steals two more batlets from two other Klingons, kills them. He's just like, well, if these weapons don't belong to me, then allow me to return them, and throws all the batlets at her. They just go past her, so she's just like, haha, I'm gonna shoot you now. And he's just like, oh drat, so I did. Guess all you can do now is take careful aim with your disruptor and vaporize me, huh? Oh well, better focus on me real good and make sure you don't miss this time, because he threw it like a boomerang and he comes back and decapitates her. Yep, he's just like that famous. Your most famous bladed weapons are shaped like human boomerangs. So then he jumps on board, fights some more Klingons on the ship now, cuts arms off. Like he's just maiming and butchering Klingons like mad because
He
he
does
gets
run
to the
around for a
transporter
while with the arm, I
and,
think. Yeah.
and he starts transporting body parts off of them. Like he's doing all kinds of
Oh,
crazy
that's
shit with
right.
transporters. Like and he's
You
transporting
guys don't
one
bother about
Klingon.
pish posh things like transporter safeties.
Yeah,
Oh
no, he's
man.
like dropping arms in front of other Klingons, and they're like, "What the shit? Whose arm is this?" And like, it's pretty crazy, the stuff he's doing. But so then
He's an absolute nightmare.
then he self destructs the ship, but he sneaks off with a shuttle. But the captain of the ship is chasing him down on the shuttle, and this shit gets crazy. So he sets a collision course with Shaxs' shuttle, and he runs into it. So then you got this like burning on fire Klingon in in the atmosphere, jumping into Shaxs' shuttle.
Shaxs is, by the way, as you can guess, totally stoked about this.
He tries to headbutt the Klingon, but it doesn't work for him like it worked for Ro. He's just like, Ro must never know about this. And he's just like, you Bajorans won't go to Stovallcor because you worship false gods and blah blah blah. But they're scrapping it up. And he says like that's where he's like your catchphrase sucks because you should just say like today is a good day to die for you, not for me. That would be better. And he's just like, you know what, today is a good day to die, but tomorrow's even better. And then Shax beams out of there onto the planet, but he made sure the other guy beamed out not so much on the planet. So he just like goes crashing into the ground. and, and then his ship lands on top of him. Like the Klingon goes hurtling into the ground, and then his ship hits. It's pretty hilarious. But then the chief engineer actually had this mech suit, and he beamed out right before self-destruct with his mech suit, which he calls an honorable mech suit or like something like that. It's for honorable killing. Yeah.
It's all right because it's made for killing people. That's right.
Yeah, right. So then it's shooting at Shaxs and stuff, but Shaxs manages to like get it over top of like a plasma vent. It kind of melts it. Good stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah, so he's melting. Melting and melting. It's yeah, it has a mecha batleth. It's like I haven't even tried the mecha batleth feature. So he's like, check out his mecha batleth. So then he melts it, he jumps out of the thing, and Shaxs is just standing over him with a smile. He's like, yeah, you are gonna die.
He's like, now you're my size again.
And he just punches him. And he's like, this is for slightly delaying me. And then installing this capacitor. He knocks him off the ship.
Nice way to tell someone exactly what their meaning is.
Then it's like the same scene we just saw in the other book. Different art where he's just like, it's all good, but there's him riding the thing, riding the Defiant in the atmosphere, and of course losing air because they're reaching space. He's like, okay, please now beam me in now. I'm ready to come in.
Finished. This is good. Ah, Shaxs' best day.
It's like we might be getting a visitor. Hey, honey, do you want to
Hello.
talk about the Day of Blood? Look, it's Uncle Dave.
Hello, science officer. Dave. How are you?
We're talking about the Day of Blood, part 4 of 5 now, honey. Did you like that one?
Very best day.
Did you read it before we started? Yeah, it's a book. Day of Blood book.
It's a good book.
Oh. So yeah, this Alexander. Yes, Alexander. She's going to be a very good podcaster one day.
It is.
Yeah, that's Benjamin Sisko. Look, we're going to get it through Edith's perspective now.
Good Sisko identification skills right off the bat is important.
Yep. So he's running up on the spire dais there to try to challenge Kahless, but Kahless kind of walks away from him. This Kahless is quite cowardly, actually. But then they shoot down their big death beam from their bird of prey right onto Sisko, and he's like, ah. But he's not dying. And Kahless is like, what?
It's sure working on him, though.
It's working on him. Don't join Starfleet, they said. You'll be bored, they said. It's still Shaxs fighting him with the Defiant. So he beams back in. The Defiant gets there just in time to take the fire instead of the Theseus, which is really good. So like, how is Martok? Exsanguinated is what is their answer.
That's a great word.
Yeah, exsanguinated. So they take the big hit. A big old piece of shrapnel goes in.
Yeah, I mean, you can only imagine that Shaxs, after the day he's had, is like, this is the very least of the problems I've dealt with today.
Yeah, he's like, yes, that one hurt a bit. And they're like, oh my God, sir. And he pulls it out. He's like, I'm fine. I mean the ship. It's a plasma leak. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. There's a fight going on there. And then there's, of course, a fight on the surface between Alexander and Worf. This is a whole inner monologue about from Worf about how he's afraid to kill Alexander, but he thinks Alexander's afraid to kill him, and he thinks the things that ruins Klingons is fear because it makes them disarmed. But then they get the last Bloodwing, or like the Bloodwing that's attacking them and shooting at them is actually the captain from the Day of Blood prelude. What is it, Myerson?
Yeah, which I did not see coming.
No, I thought they killed him, but no, they just converted him. Interesting. So he wants to beam over. So they escape in a shuttle because they say they have the other orb, the orb of creation, and that they'll give it to Myerson if he spares them. And he's like, yeah, I'm down with that. We totally would take another orb because one's working out real good for us. So he's just like, beam me over to that shuttle and I'll take it myself. But it turns out nobody's on that shuttle. Oh my god! Yeah, she's gonna start playing piano here.
All right, musical
Parenting and
accompaniment.
podcasting.
Indeed.
Parenting and podcasting. Um, so then they fooled him though. They just had a bunch of like trilithium weapons grade stuff on there, and they blow
Hmm.
up two birds of prey with one stone, as
Very
they say.
nice.
And then more
Teaching
battle from Worf and
Vulcan some
Alexander,
expressions.
and the,
It's
quite a fight actually. And he's just like Alexander's actually pretty good. He's just like pure vitality, and he's like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
says he's the hardest nemesis he's ever fought, which seems crazy. But he's like he also says he doesn't know if that's just because he's holding back
Hmm.
because he doesn't want
Hmm.
to kill his son.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, and he's trying to tell. It's interesting what he says about Kalas. He's like Kalas is afraid. No, what does he say? Oh, he says at one point that Kalas didn't invent honor; he just attached it to violence.
Which is fine. Yeah, I really like that, and that's well set up by the um the Klingon one shot in some ways, and not even in the sense like that earlier one doesn't necessarily determine it the way this Kalis does, but it was important for how he attached it. Uh, yeah, I mean, Worf's point is, I think, kind of ineluctable here.
And it shows his disconnect with Klingon myth and Klingon culture and stuff too, because he doesn't believe into that level of violence. You know,
Hmm. And
uh,
that's been a really consistent element of his character the whole time. Even if he is quite happy to get down in a fight, he doesn't believe that like getting into a fight is actually the Klingon way.
he's just like Klingons. He says they're just like overly affected by fear. And he says we mask our fear with violence and bloodshed, and we call it strength, but we are wrong. Yeah. And then he just like catches one of Alexander's punches and like holds his hand. And he's just like, it's our time to quiet our fear together. And he's saying how he just like they grew up the same way, like without a
Hmm.
birthright. He's just like, yeah, I never understood how where I fit in Klingon or human culture. And he's just like, you had the same problem. He's just like, I didn't guide you through that. He kind of admits his own faults as
Yeah.
a parent there.
Which is
So
the
then they
first
sort
time I
of
think
come
Worf
to,
has ever really done that.
yeah,
And probably
yeah.
never ever to Alexander, of course.
Some of his finest parenting moments are actually in this book.
Hmm.
So then they've sort of like maybe he says father to him, and it's like it almost reached him for a sec, but nope. Kalas is stabbing Alexander in the back. Like so dishonorable. This Kalas is doing just so many dishonorable things in a row. Like he does not act like a Klingon. He does not act like Klingon the first. Or I
Well,
mean
and
Kalas the
he's
first, I
he's
should say.
he's making Worf's point very strongly that he's governed by fear. He's governed by opportunistic, short-sighted impulse. Hi, Adam.
Oh, Happy New Year's,
Happy
Adam,
New
and go
Year's
on
and
true
Jolan,
indeed.
true to you. Live long and prosper.
Indeed, indeed. But so yeah, that's bad. Another freaking he's like, Father, I am sorry. And he's just like, I am afraid. So it comes back to
Mm.
that. It's very sad. It's very moving. And then you have the Worf crying over his dead son and Cisco not dying. And and Kalis just being like, but all gods must die so that one Kalis may rise unforgettable. And then somehow Cisco kind of gets this mental connection with Spock. And he's like, Spock, we need the orb down here. Now, that takes us to the final issue of this
Eat.
fantastic story, including the countdown to the Day of Blood. It's all been pretty great. Um, Interesting cover.
Great cover.
Very good cover. There's some really good art in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Profits and stuff too, and like really
Well,
good
it's
stuff.
interesting how
But
the
another,
colors have been just coming down and down and down and down and down to just black and red on
yeah,
the last cover,
yeah.
right? Like, and it's just it's very stark now. Not black and white, but I suppose black and red with that little touch.
So they're trying to work out on this plan where that Cisco has, where they want the orb of creation to kind of cancel out the orb of destruction. At least seems to be the
Mm-hmm.
plan. And it does mention, Scotty mentions a thing that connects to a series that's running at the same time in comics called Star Trek The Motion Picture Echoes, which I do have, so we'll have to cover that at some point as well.
Cool.
So that
I
should
mean,
be
and this ultimately, I mean, it sort of brings this long running theme that we found in these stories of the sort of coincidence of opposites. Tom and B'Elanna, Lore and Data, all of these
that's
characters have a
the
kind of duality to them. Even if it's only, in Worf and Cisco's case, not a kind of permanent duality, but it's a schism into which they've fallen, right?
and it has and it's they've fallen into in the past before. Like
Oh
there's
yeah,
certainly been at odds in that way many times.
yeah, yeah.
So like Cisco, it's crazy though. Like his skin's tearing off and everything. It's like it's pretty crazy. And he's basically calling
Vicious.
out the prophets. He always starts off by calling out his mother. And he's like, "Why have you forsaken me?" He's like, you all made me your emissary, and you never even told me what that meant ever. Like you still haven't told me
Mm-hmm.
what the hell that means. He's just like, he's like, I try to fight it, I try to stand, I fail. And he says like, but I see what's beyond. And then he like, so that's the this is that great page I was talking. So
Lovely
like it's him
page.
talking to the prophets, and they always take the form of people he knows and stuff. And they're all like, "You live here, like in this moment." They're like, "We live in this. You can too." Like, and then he's like, "But they're like, if we have to, we'll all die together. Like if Kalis succeeds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like just come back with us." They're just like he's just like nah. Like that's what like the prophets are not very useful. They almost are never useful. So then it's like Cisco talking about his thinking about his crew, and it's his monologue over it. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
some really good stuff there. Like he says, he sees a healer who can find the patterns of life in the strangest places. Talking about Beverly, and with Scott, he says, "I see a builder who spent the better part of a century pushing past the laws of physics." And he's saying what they do. Like she finds the heartbeat, and he's building the
Mm-hmm.
chamber for this plan that he has because they've realized that they can't disable Kalis's weapon, but they can reverse engineer it
Mm-hmm.
for their orb that they have. And then he says, I see a mechanic who harnessed the power of a protostar in B'Elanna, and a genius with a mind beyond even the prophet's comprehension. That's Talir, because there's still a big secret about Talir that we don't know. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
he says of Data, I see the dreamer housed in a case of metal and doubt. And
That's interesting
Shaxs,
that Cisco's calling him a dreamer.
yeah, well, it's true, certainly of Data,
Sure.
but of like the dreamer in the dream and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting. Um, and of Shaxs, I see the faithful scarred by decades of war. Uh, I see the acolyte with a voice forged by centuries. That's Sato, probably like referring to her lineage from
Mm-hmm.
Hoshi Sato, that sort of stuff. And X, I see the renegade who spent her life mastering radiation. Of Tom, I see the maverick against whom no distance can stand. I love that because he went warp 10. Like even distance isn't an issue for Tom Paris, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I see the apostate whose heart knows a love masked in hate. That's a good way to describe Ro. And
Yeah.
of Spock, the leader who never wished to lead, I see him give the order. And then I know that we choose to live. And then Theseus, great art, just boom, shooting their version of the Kalis' weapon down. And it like lights up Cisco, and he catches the bat'leth that Kalis was about to behead him with. And it's pretty great. And Kalis is like, your gods can't help you, blah blah blah. He's like, we will claim your power with Klingon blood. And he's like, it's not my gods you're fighting, Kalis. It's my crew. Ah, such a Starfleet line.
Great Starfleet
Like
moment.
that's what I love about Cisco. Like even when they bring his character into all these like kind of like godlike fate, like states and whatever, he's just like he's Starfleet through and through, man.
Yeah, man.
That's great stuff there. Like that. That's the spire coming. It's lighting up the spire. But you see, it also because it's the orb of creation. It like animates the plants that then start to climb up the dead Alexander's arm,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden he bursts back to life. So I'm glad Worf didn't have to see Alexander die. I gotta say, I'm
Yeah.
glad that they had a
Yeah.
MacGuffin there. Worf's had seen enough people. He even says it. He's seen enough loved ones friggin' die.
Yeah, he's had enough of that loss in his life, you know?
But he comes out of it. He's like, I didn't see the gates of Stovokor. He's just like, how could Kahless? Yeah, how could he be my light and my path if I didn't see the gates of Stovokor following him and dying, at his hands? But
He's got a
so
point there. Alexander's got a
he,
point.
Xander's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Kuvo Kahless is taken off. So Kahless is actually getting away,
Mm-hmm.
which he does. Like it's not what you would call an end to this story. Like Kahless gets away, and it's like
Yeah.
Martok's like, I'll just chase him down forever if I have to and kill him. Which is going to be fun, just seeing Martok chase down Kahless. Hope we get to see that sometime.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's
That'd
like,
be a
it seems
great
you've
Worf
kept me from
series.
dying, Doctor. She's like, despite your best efforts on the contrary. Then friggin' the Beverly leaves. Sayla comes back in and puts like a truth serum, like derived from like the SETI eels, into Martok and gets who knows what kind of information out of him. I can't believe they
Oh my
left Sayla in a room
goodness.
alone with anybody, especially somebody
Sayla is
important.
making her way back into the Romulan High Command right there.
Yeah, oh yeah, she is. Which is what she wants. She's like
Yeah.
disgraced and has like shitty position. She just wants back in. Yeah.
Everybody wins, kind of, except
And
Martok, who got
yeah,
stabbed
and then this
so
is a fun page. It's kind of all the members of the different crews doing their final logs about the events and that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
Tom's and B'Elanna's are basically the same. They're both writing Harry, and they're just like, "Hey Harry, don't tell B'Elanna I wrote you. Hey Harry, don't tell Tom I wrote you." That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like their notes are almost exactly the same. They're like, "Thank you for taking care of Mawal while we deal with our crazy circumstances, and we'll come pick her up after a little quick stop on Earth where we're gonna get punished severely." Like basically,
Yeah.
we gotta go face the music on Earth first.
But I think
Stealing
they both
Defiance and
do
whatnot.
indicate that the other parent is going to pick her up as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
there's
still don't. They
Shaxs
don't know
trying
this
to
stuff.
tell the tale of his best day, and they're like, "You should have." He's like, "You should have been seen it. It was incredible." But it's like it was idiotic. Until Rose like it was both an equal measure, which was, I must admit, quite exciting.
Nice one, Ro.
Yeah.
So it
And
does end
then
well, you know.
Lana and Tom sneak off to bang.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco apologizes to Worf, and Worf's just like, I never asked for your apology. He's like, and yet you have it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, traits that make a parent, compassion, dedication, love are the same that make a captain. Caring for your family by blood or by badge is why we sit in the chair. He's like, something you have proven more than worthy of, which I will attest to until my last breath. Yeah. He's like, it was wrong for me to like make you choose between that passion and your duty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, can we be friends again? He's like, Benjamin, I would have it no other way. And then
Then.
the end of the story, Kahless and his Kuvo Kahless is getting away. But who interrupts
Mm-hmm.
them? Of
Ooh.
course, it's Lore. He's like, I actually
Lore.
am your computer systems, is what he says. He's like, because I'm inside your systems, that's why you can hear my voice. He's like, I am your systems. I am so many things, including your true path for glory, which your Kahless, a clone I remind you, has lost. If you seek to regain your honor, you should not fight against the divine. You should join me, as it is what I become.
Ooh.
So now we have like a lore going off on like he's almost acting like he wants to do a similar thing that Kahless was trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
who knows with lore? Because he
Yeah.
sort of did something like that before with his Borg cult, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this kind of grandiosity is absolutely his shtick, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So it was a very
Well,
exciting conclusion to the story.
yeah. And as we always
Yeah.
ask on this show, does it enter into the head canon? Yeah, I really liked this story. I liked the countdown. I loved it all. I mean,
I'd love to see
Do I
this
really
as
want
like
Cisco to come back and immediately go off on some big mission before having some downtime? Not really, but you got to do what you got to do. So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
great. I loved all the
This would
Worf
be a
stuff.
great
I
little
loved the
mini
Worf,
series
and
or something. Yeah.
I love that it finally added something and resolved the Worf Alexander relationship. Like it actually made something of it instead of just the joke that Worf's a bad father. It's just like, yeah, well, let's add some context there. Let's like do
Yeah.
something with that story.
Well, I'd like to see Worf stepping up to the possibility of playing more of a role in Alexander's life as well.
Well, that's what he says here in his last little log too. He's just like, I'm glad. It was shocking to have like think I have lost you,
Yeah.
Alexander. He's just like, but I will not waste the second chance to be your father.
Yeah,
So
right? I mean, I think
very
that's,
nice.
in some ways, that's the most Worf can really hope for,
Yep.
ultimately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this has ended up being a really good Worf story in the end. Like even more than it was a Cisco story, it felt more like a Worf story, probably because it did focus around Klingons, and
It's
Worf
true.
caused it all by anointing Kahless the second in the first place. So
Yeah, I mean, this is a long time sort of boomerang for him. That's true. Or Batleth,
right.
you
He
know.
certainly felt that
Uh,
responsibility in the stories. It's like, yeah, this was
oh,
all
for
my
sure.
bad. Like, I really have to go fix
Yeah,
this.
yeah. I
I
really want
believed in a clone.
more of Shax's good days. Because I think even Shax's second best day could be pretty great.
It'd be pretty fun too. Yeah, Shax's best day was definitely my favorite issue. That's 100% in the
Oh,
head canon, but it all is because
oh
you
yeah.
have to have it to get to that Shax's best day.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and oh yeah, we also didn't mention that it's like for every Shax's best day, there's a Klingon chief engineer on a lowly bird of prey who's having his worst
Oh my goodness. Very worst day.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first Shax beams his brother's arms in front of
What is that?
him. He's like, "Yeah, those are your brother's arms." I don't know how he knew it was his brother. Maybe he just meant brother Klingon, but that's what he says to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty
Oh my
funny.
god.
So what
Shax is
about you,
just
head
oh my
canon?
god, he's just so unhinged. All right.
You canon then in this one?
Yeah, I think it probably fits in there by now for me. Now seeing the complete thing, I think I could do with that. It'd be a great mini series to my mind.
Great, yeah, season of Cisco show.
Great.
Yeah, Worf. Well, that's us. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever you get your podcasts. You can contact us at locutorsoftrek@gmail.com. Find our audio only version wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, patreon.com/live long and podcasts. Check that
Indeed.
out. Support us if you so choose and enjoy what we do here. And
Indeed.
of course, you can find us at ufpodcast.com, where we have a great federation of podcasts. I'll do the quick rundown because you can find our stuff here on Locutors of Trek, of course, and we'll be talking astrophysics with Dr. Aaron McDonald
Oh, yeah.
here in 4 days' time. So that's going to be fun on Locutors of Trek, Season 2, Episode 3. So check that out. And of course, they have their review into the DS9. Yeah, they're finishing up their DS9 reviews here over on the Command Division. And of course, all of our many other Star Trek content that we do here. Radio theater, we just did
Indeed.
Time Zero. I played an overtly racist Mark Twain in that one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't make him nice. He's a little more racist than Mark Twain, a little more familiar, or maybe a little more of a penchant for young boys than Mark Twain may have had in real life.
Ooh.
You know, this wasn't a good Mark Twain I was playing. He was like,
Ooh.
but he was wearing it all on his sleeve.
It's like Mirror
Yeah, so
Universe
go
Mark
check
Twain
that
all
out.
of a sudden there. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I don't know. It's just how
We're
he
in a
came out.
dark place with
Um,
Davan's acting these days.
yeah, I inhabit a role. I inhabit a role. Um,
Just don't
look,
go
I've read
method,
Huck
is all I'm
Finn.
saying.
I'm not making that shit up. Um, um, and of course, we have X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. There's me there getting ready to rage with Andrè trying to hold me back. That's basically how our show works. And Andrè also hosts Graphic Histories, great interview show on people in the graphic arts comics world. Check that out. There's lots of fun. He just interviewed, I should say, Christopher Sequeira and Joe Eisma, who did the Star Trek Halloween comic, and There's an interview coming up with Paris Elaine, Michael T. Gilbert. Lots of people. So check that out. And Hold Up a Movie podcast. Me and Murphy talk about movies. We just talk about radio movies. Super Mater Brothers. They review reality shows, and we do some Mary Mater Marvel Societying over there, reviewing Marvel stuff. Eamon on Track reviews albums. Yep. Trivial debates. We have some fun there. We debate about trivial things. Sometimes we get quite heated. It can happen.
Someday we
that's
might
pretty
even
much
make the
it from our
quad
end.
reveal things. It'd be lovely.
Oh, and the Hellbound podcast with Alex.
Oh, right.
Chan. That's it for us, I guess.
Indeed.
Guess there's only one thing left to say.
Well, I think in honor of Klingons and the Day of Blood, we'll say, first of all, glory to you and all of your houses, and end transmission.